Live.
Thanks. You want to talk to Steve? Oh, my. Yeah. We've read our packets.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
All set, Mike?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Just wait a minute.
Trying to get some break rate, that's all.
Yeah, no worries. All right, I'd like to call the Hopkinton Town Council meeting of November 15th, 2021 to order with a, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Here we go. So, yep, Scott, you want to make a motion to reconvene?
Mr. President, I make a motion that the Hopkinton Town Council reconvene in open session.
All in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Marvel eye.
Gary, aye.
And Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Stated by Council President that no votes were taken in executive session.
Do you want me, is it appropriate now to make the motion to seal executive session minutes? Madam President, Mr. President, I apologize for that. I move that the minutes of the executive session be sealed.
I second.
All in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Marvel eye.
Gary, aye.
And Moffat, aye. Motion passes. All right, now I'll call to order the Hopkinton Town Council meeting of November 15th, 2021 to order with a moment of silent meditation and a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Up first, board and commission interviews, the zoning board of review alternate. Mr. Landolfi? Yes. Welcome. Excellent. I believe this. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you could just, our interview is an open session. If you could just want to give us a brief description of yourself.
Yeah, just I served 10 years on the council, a couple of years on planning, thought I might still be able to get back to the town, so sort of maybe zoning. It's a quasi-governmental agency or board, and it's got a lot of interesting features to it. Kind of appeals to me in one respect that there's not a lot of gray area with zoning. It's either in the regs or it's not. So that appeals to me as well. So I just wanted to get back a little bit. That's about it. I know I served, like I said, 10 years on the council, retiring in November. So
Excellent. All right, well, thank you. Do you have any questions for this?
All I want to do is thank Mr. Landolfi for doing his interview in public. Thank you.
Mr. Karen.
I'd just like to say thank you, Mr. Landolfi, for stepping up and coming back and helping community. I think it's probably a good thing when somebody that has as much experience steps up and wants to be on a board of commission. Thank you.
Sharon, do you have anything? No. I don't have any further questions. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for
yeah,
applying.
thanks. I just want to mention, I did see a poison pen letter from Carol DeRosia. I'm assuming she sent it to most of the council, and I'm not sure who leaked it, but that's kind of unprofessional. So I assume it was one of the councilors that did it, and it wasn't very flattering for me to have someone that shouldn't have known who was applying for this position. Only the council knows, the clerk's office. So, and by way of no one asking any questions, Marvel and Sharon, one just begs the question, who did leak it? And I just think it's unprofessional. So what I'm going to do is I'll withdraw my application, and I'll wait for the council to get a new council to come in, and then I'll donate my time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next, under hearings, do I have a motion to save the licensing board?
Want to make the motion?
Let it rip, take a chip.
Mr. President, I make a motion, the town council sit as a licensing board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Geary, aye.
Marvel, I.
In Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Number one, open a hearing on renewal of the following liquor license. Class B Limited, Main Street Pizza, Christopher Hansky, President, CHS LLC, 229 Main Street, Ashaway RI, 02804. Are the applicant or representative present?
Yes.
Lisa, are all fees and dues? Yes. Is there any discussion amongst the council on this?
Everything's good. I'm good.
Is there anyone who is wishing to speak for or against this applicant? All right, not hearing anyone wanting to speak for or against. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion that the license be granted subject to all state and town regulations being met and all town taxes current prior to issue.
Do I have a second?
Mr. President, second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Marvel, I.
Geary, aye.
Excuse me, Mike, and Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn as a licensing?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we adjourn the licensing board and reconvene as a council.
A second.
Second, all in favor?
First, aye.
Marvel, I.
Geary, aye.
In Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Up next, consent agenda. Approved town council meeting minutes of November 1st, 2021. Accept the following monthly financial activity report from the town clerk.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
First, second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Marvel, I.
Geary, aye.
In Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Up next, old business. Number one, discussion regarding Councilor Hurst's meeting with Public Utilities Commission for reoccurring power outages, future contact, and how the town should proceed.
I don't have my cheat notes, but last week I did go up to the Public Utilities Commission. I met with three people up there, and they were very helpful. And after that meeting, I was contacted by Paul Stasiak of National Grid, and I met with them today. And with Mr. Stasiak, there was three from National Grid and Joe Schilling from the Public Utilities Commission, and Dave Cazzo was there. So I would ask Dave to come up here so we can just have this conversation about where we stand. Even though I don't have my cheat notes, basically we have some good news. We have they're talking about putting in two new fuses, which is going to at least reduce the power outages. So that's a step in the right direction. And also where it is in the cycle, and they stressed it today when I was talking up at the Utilities Commission, they have a cycle when they do work, and they're going to be doing some tree cutting and everything else next year. So that's the positive. So we're on a good part of the cycle right now where a lot of the trees and things like that will be cut down. Fast forward to today, because it's related, because they did contact Mr. Stasiak, and Dave was there, and head of the Public Works Department, and Joe Schilling, and three members of the Public Utilities Commission. Basically, a lot of that stuff was repeated, but it was a really great learning experience. And I think one of the things that we should look at is the powers of our tree warden. The tree warden actually has the power to make people take down a tree on private property. And I know a lot of people wouldn't like that because cutting down trees is expensive. But the way it is trees that are the town's responsibilities or the state's responsibilities, or even, on property of the utility, they have a responsibility to do that. But the tree warden has the power by law to take down a tree on private property that is considered dangerous. And the landowner is responsible for it. I know you wouldn't gain a lot of points for that, but that's what was said today. But I think the real plus that people want to hear is the fact that the way with the new fuses and everything else and some of the tree cuttings of, trees and vegetation, it should be more of a plus for the people. And what they do is they do certain sections. We talked about mainly the Ashway area. And then I think next year, they say their year starts in April, that they're going to do Maxon Hill Road. And you can correct me on that, Dave, if you remember the conversation. And they've worked on Chase Hill Road. And yes, they did in Hope Valley area, they did Skunk Hill last year. So I want to turn it over to Dave because he will be working with them more than obviously the council will. So, Mr. Caswell.
Welcome, Mr. Caswell. If you just state your name for the record.
David Caswell,
Thank you, sir.
Director of Public Works, Town of Hopkinton. Mr. President, councilors, as Councilor Hurst stated, we had a meeting today at the Crandall House with Councilor Hurst, Joe Schilling from the PUC, Randy Borders from National Grid, he's the arborist, Chris Ronnie from National Grid, also arborist, and Paul Stazak and myself. So as Councilor Hurst reverted to, they refer to as the substation on 216. They actually call that Chase Hill substation. But it's 155 F6. So as Councilor Hurst said, they have what they call a cycle trim. And they're currently in the process of doing that. And it's a 4-year process. So that F4, which is the Chase Hill area, last year, or this past year, I'm sorry, they did F8, which is the Skunk Hill area. Next year, they're going to be doing the Diamond Hill, which is 155 F2. So all of their area is covered in a grid, no pun intended. And so in doing what they're doing, they are taking down a lot of trees. So in the past year, as the council knows that the town put monies aside for tree removal. So we've done phase 1, which was about 100 trees. When the town manager and myself have the opportunity, we'll start putting together phase 2 with the remaining monies. So with that being said, we work very closely with the National Grid. So I think the complaint that Councilor Hurst got, and probably the rest of the council from a taxpayer who had concerns for many power outages, 3 in particular within a month. Those were unforeseen, unfortunately, due to, and I think you folks saw the response from Paul Stazak. One was an animal cause, another was a branch from phase to phase, which trips the fuse, which causes power outages. And I believe the third incident was a motor vehicle accident involving a pole. So all explained, all unavoidable, unfortunately. But they, in today's meeting, Paul Stazak and Randy Borders, who work very closely together, will be meeting again in the near future to target some more trees in our town. So with that being said, they're doing all they can. Mr. Schilling, Joseph Schilling from the PUC, apparently I had a lengthy discussion after our meeting outside. And he is tasked by the governor to look into this incident, and he will directly report back to the governor with the results of today's meeting, which I think are favorable. So they're doing what they can. I went to a meeting a few years back. I believe former town manager Bill McGarry was there. My boss at the time, former director Teft. National Grid doesn't own any trees. So with that being said, they spend an awful lot of money on tree removal. And in this town, I can personally tell you that they have gone above and beyond helping us remove targeted trees that are going to affect not only the town's right of ways, but also their appliances. So, if you have any questions, I will try to answer them.
Ms. Davis?
Yes,
Yeah, how many trees will be in phase 2?
undetermined at this time. It depends on how far we can stretch them. So every tree has a price. And I'll use a ballpark figure. It's about $1,000 a tree to have one removed. Again, depending on size, some of the trees that we're looking at are smaller in size, and unfortunately, some of them are very large. So that will take a larger portion of the monies. They did warn us that in 2 years, it's going to get worse. So we've had droughts, we've had gypsy moth damage. Well, what's coming down now is the emerald ash borer. And I don't know if anybody has read up on any of that or heard of that. So it's going to affect our ash trees, which we have quite a few. And the way it was described by the National Grid arborist is when the tree is attacked, it rots from the bottom, from the root system. So you have a whole tree failure. We also discussed something that is a gray area in this town, and at some point, I will get together with the town manager and probably you folks. Right of way. What is the town's right of way? As you all know, most of our roads started as cut paths, and they've expanded over time. So it is a very big gray area of what is the town's responsibility and what is private property. So that needs to be addressed at some point. Newer developments, I think our town planners here, Mr. Lampier. Jim can tell you that most of our newer subdivisions, it's black and white. We have a 40 or a 50-foot right of way. There's a way to measure that. So we know exactly where the town's responsibility starts and stops. With our older roads, Chase Hill Road, I think dates back to the 1700s. Scott being a historian could say better than I, but working for the town for 14 years now, I'm familiar with a lot of the situations that we encounter, but it is something that we try to address on an as-needed basis and come up with our best guesstimate of what the responsibilities are.
Yeah, you can correct me. I believe that there's like 4 grids in Hopkinton or
That's
Hopkinton.
correct. Yep, we have 4 major trunks that go through town, with the majority starting at the Chase Hill / Ashway Road 216 substation. They do go up Chase Hill Road, large 3-phase system. They also go through the swamp in that area. And there's about 2,500, as they said, Scott, customers on that.
Yeah, I got it in my cheat notes here. I got 2,500 to 3,000 per circuit.
So, and again, it is what they call a cycle trim. It's every 4 years, and they are currently in that process in our town. So they're doing an awful lot.
I have one quick question. Did Joe Schilling, I think that was his name, Mr. Schilling?
Yes,
Did he mention anything about Pennsylvania Power purchasing?
yes,
Okay.
that is true.
Did,
Pennsylvania Power and Light now owns National Grid.
okay.
They have not come up with a name for the company as of yet, although I was told it will not be National Grid.
Okay.
So that's easy.
And is there any concern that things will be different, like agreements will be different in how they work? I mean, are these gentlemen going to be working for?
Undetermined at this
Okay.
time. I don't think that they're going to do do everything they can. I also found out not too long ago that the National Grid is charged with the reliability of their, well, they have a report card that they actually
Right.
have to submit to the PUC. And Joe Schilling, of course, is very familiar with that. So it pays for them to keep their system up and running to the best of their ability. Like I say, at the end of the day, they have always gone the extra mile for us, my department. We also supply them with flagging and some tree removal once it's on the ground. So,
Yeah, I just like to say that Mr. Stasiak reached out to me after I met with up at the PUC, and I like to thank him for that. He also noted that the state DOT is very cooperative, been very cooperative as far as on the main road where most circuits are on. So I do want to mention that, and but we're making progress. It's I can say that it's not going to be never any power outages again, but I think we've made some improvements, and we're certainly it's an effort's being made, and I think we should acknowledge that. And of course, a lot of these things have to do with the wind too, and so it's very important. But I do strongly recommend, if you do have a power outage, please notify the National Grid, because if you report and your neighbor or somebody else near you reports it, they know it's not just limited to your residence. So please, I implore on people, if you do have a power outage, please contact National Grid. And if enough people do that, they know it's a problem other than your own location. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
I got one thing real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, Director, I just want to say thank you for getting involved in this on kind of short notice. We constantly, if the wind gets over 25 miles an hour, we all get a little bit nervous. How we didn't lose power this past Saturday night is a good thing. I did watch the lights go up and down. I was like, oh, here we go again. But the trouble spots, as we call it, the Hopkinton triangle. And fortunately, the president sits in the triangle, so that's it. But just keep
I
us.
as well.
I-
And on a personal note, Friday and Saturday's events.
Yeah.
I did not lose power, which was very unusual for my location. So I was quite pleased, and my wife as well. So.
Yeah, lights and hot water are a
we're
good
getting
thing.
there. It's just going to take time. The rural area that we live in, that's why we choose to live here, because of our surroundings. And there's just a lot of damaged trees out there that's gonna take time.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere, so.
Well,
Trust me, I don't wanna go out at 2 AM.
I'm sure you
for a
do
tree
not.
down,
I'm sure you do
like
not.
the rest of you, I do that every day.
thank you, Director.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Up next, new business. Number 1, discuss and consider and possibly vote to award the bid to Crandall Field Playground equipment for Crandall Field Playground. Welcome, Jim. Thank you for being here.
I'm here tonight to answer any questions you may have about the playground equipment bid that came in. We advertised the RFP in the Providence Sunday Journal. I sent out probably a half a dozen emails as well to various equipment companies, and we only received one bid back. That was for from Playcore, Wisconsin Incorporated, doing business as Game Time MRC. And their bid was $238,965.56 for just the equipment for that playground. Oh, and installation, yes, installing the equipment as well with warranties. So
Is that, considering we only got one bid, is that, is it close to what we anticipated potentially, or is that, should we?
It is what we anticipated, and say a couple things about that quickly. This was the company that we originally got a quote from when we put this in CIP. So, and it came in what we initially thought it was going to be. With that being said, the reason I think that we received one bid is because the specifications for the playground were very niche. They were very specific to this one playground in which we originally had designed, and Mary, the rec department recognition, had an idea, a plan. So when they got the quote from them, we liked the quote. They ended up putting an RFP out to follow the procurement policy, but it was pretty niche. So I don't think it was probably finding it to be beneficial for too many people to try to cater playground landscape exactly the way that this company had for us.
So with that being said, so we have, obviously to approve the playground equipment and installation. Is that the final step to approve and then we move forward with stuff? Or?
Yeah, we would approve the council would.
I just have one question with you.
Do they have a time frame as to when they?
Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit, because it's kind of a two things going on here. We gotta get the landscapers in there, prepare the engineers, the drainage is always an issue there. So the engineers design, you guys awarded that bid to Yardworks.
Yeah.
So they're gonna get in there, Jim. I know you've got updated dates, so maybe you could speak to that a little bit. But
Yes, very soon, construction should begin drainage. As of last Thursday, I received an email from Yardworks stating that they were waiting for the material to come in. That material had to be checked in advance by Crossman. Everything that was into these facilities is all material is reviewed by Crossman and approved first. Then it has to get ordered, then Yardworks has to get it in. So they're waiting for it. They think it's going to be very soon. Construction. We're going to do that before the bad weather sets in. The drainage will all be done. So then we'll have it sit over the winter, and then we'll be poised to go in with the equipment in the spring.
Sure. And has the town realized our obligation as far as in-kind, was there a match in
so
our
I
in-kind
believe it was
services?
4 years ago, in the
Okay.
CIP,
Okay.
we put in the CIP 20% match for the DEM grant. So we have funds, DEM is picking up 8%.
And as far as public works, have they, because they were doing some work, right? Are
Oh,
they-
yeah, so we have a lot, our 20% is
That's what
not just the CIP
Right,
funds,
right.
it's also the in-kind
Yes.
match. They've done a lot of work out there.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you.
To help save the town some money.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good.
It's gonna be a really nice project.
No, I'm sure it will be.
Very excited about it.
I know there's a lot of people anticipating, a lot of people asking about it. So I think Council Geary had another
Yeah.
question.
Mr. Lampier, forgive me if I might have already asked this. It is ADA compliant, right?
There are many features that are ADA compliant.
Okay.
with this playground.
Couldn't remember if we
inclusive.
talked
The
about that.
word they use today is inclusive. There are many different types of disabilities.
Right,
And you have to be inclusive to as many of them as possible.
right.
And we have, one of the swings we have is what they call a zero gravity chair. And it looks like the type of a thing in front of you that you'd have on one of those roller coasters at Six Flags. And so it really holds a person in there that needs additional support in the swing. So that's one thing. The other swings are ADA compliant as well. We have, again, for the sensory impaired, we have cantata chimes that you can play like a xylophone. We have bells, and we have, and again, even we have a merry-go-round, which is accessible. You can't really put a wheelchair into it, but it's very easy to slide someone in there with a disability. So we have a lot of features, a lot of things you can climb around on top as well. So it's inclusive. I made that point very clear.
Yeah, I remember the meetings. I was here for the planning board meetings and some of the.
Yeah, I went back because I wanted to check all the boxes on these grant applications, and it has to be ADA compliant. So we redesigned it and we put some features in there that brought the price up a little bit more, but we got the grant and it's going to function.
Awesome. Are there any other questions amongst council?
Sounds good.
Sharon, any questions? All set? Yeah, I just need a motion.
Make a motion that we award the bid for the Crandall Field Playground Equipment to Play for Wisconsin Incorporated, doing business as Game Time, COMRC Incorporated, in the amount of $238,965.56.
Councilman Hurst, I'll second that.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Davis, aye.
Marvel, I. Gary, I.
In Moffat, I motion passes.
Excellent.
Up next, under new business, discuss and consider or possibly vote to appoint municipal court judge for term from November of 2021 to November 2023. Is there any discussion? Or motion?
Oh. I think you said the name.
Mr. President, I move that Margaret Steele Esquire be reappointed municipal court judge.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes. I want to thank Mark Page Esquire for his interest in the position. Knew his grandfather. I don't really relish my position right now because I've known the Page family all my life. But there's been no major concerns with Judge Steele. And there was a concern that I think I should address because we've been advised by our solicitor, Attorney Seipel. Judge Steele lives in North Stoughton, Connecticut, and there was a concern of whether or not you could be a judge, municipal court judge in Rhode Island if you live in another state. It's the legal opinion of our solicitor, Attorney Seipel. There is not a problem with that. So I'd like to state that for the record in case it ever comes up. And I thank Attorney Page for his interest. But Judge Steele has a long history in this town, and there's no compelling reason to replace her. With no slight to Attorney Page. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Is there any other discussion? There's no other discussion. We have a second. I'll take it to a vote to reappoint Margaret Steele as municipal court judge. All in favor?
Gary, I.
First, aye.
Marvel, I.
Davis, aye.
In Moffat, I motion passes.
Excellent.
Margaret Steele is reappointed municipal court judge for the town of Hopkinton from November 21 to November 2023. Up next, under new business, discuss and consider sending a letter to the Charahoe School Committee for policy prohibiting teachers, staff, and non-parents from filing complaints, requested by Councilor Gear.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, the school committee passed a policy on October 26, 2021, pretty much barring if you're a non-parent and you live in the district, pretty much what it boils down is you can't comment or make any remarks or inquire about what goes on at the school. A little concerned that this vote was put into place without any of Hopkins representatives present at the school committee meeting that night. If you have children enrolled within the school, you are not allowed to participate in any of the stuff. 76% of our tax dollars, 76%, 76 cents of every dollar goes to school resources. How do we get here? When asked, the school committee is reporting that this came down from the legal team. Role of the attorney is to be advised public body, not running the public body. The role of the public is representative government. How can they say we have representative government when they're not allowed to speak with the representatives on the school committee? In summary, I would like to get a consensus from the rest of the counselors to send the school committee that we represent the taxpayers, and I'd like to get a letter out to them. I'd like to open up for discussion.
Well, I'd like to make a motion, a letter be sent.
Can we have more discussion?
Yeah, we can have
Okay, I was going to
discussion
do
after
that and then have the discussion, but we'll have discussion. Can I discuss?
You can make your motion, then we can have discussion. It doesn't matter. You're going to make the motion.
Okay, why don't we wait until
No,
we,
finish the motion.
you want me to make a motion?
Yeah, make the motion, then we'll have a discussion.
Okay, I make a motion that the Hopkinton Town Council send a letter to the Charahoe School Committee regarding the policy prohibiting teachers, staff, and non-parents from filing complaints regarding things dealing with the Charahoe School District of contact in libraries and other policies.
So I'm going to start off with, what's that? No, we're not taking.
No,
we're-
there's
we're
no
having
second
discussion
yet.
right now.
Yeah, we're having discussion.
So you
Is
did
there a
make
second?
Still need a second, right?
Second to discuss.
Second.
Okay,
Did you want to go here? All right, so So your biggest problem with this, Mike, is the non-parents? I mean, I just want to,
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily non-parents. It's pretty much you're taking one group of people and saying, okay, I have kids. You can come in and talk to us. But if you're just a regular taxpayer like myself, I don't have any kids in the system anymore. You're pretty much barring me from going in. You're basically saying, hey, we're going to take your money, but we can't talk to you. And I think the policy.
when can't they talk to them? I'm just curious. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm just talking. I just want to. No.
Well, from pretty much from what I see is you can't go in and make any kind of comment if you don't have
In
kids
where?
into the school, to the school committee.
Regarding,
Say anything,
All right.
anything regarding the school.
I disagree with you, that's the problem. Can I stop talking?
no, you can. And
Okay.
I'll-
On October 26, 2021, the Terre Haute School Committee approved changes to the library media center policy. Rather than
It's in school.
quote, any resident or employee of unquote, the Terre Haute Regional School District, only quote, the parent/guardian of any student or a student over the age of 18 enrolled in the Terre Haute Regional School District, unquote, may address concerns with regard to materials used or not used in the district's educational program. Although several Terre Haute District residents may object to this change in the library media center policy, I think it makes perfect sense that the parents of students and students currently enrolled at Terre Haute have the most legitimate concerns over the appropriateness of library materials. So I'm only talking about library materials. I'm
I
not
wasn't
talking
even-
about other things.
I wasn't even talking about library
Well,
materials.
that's what I thought.
well, that's what the policy is for.
Yeah,
That's what
that
you
was
wanted
the
to write a
policy.
letter for.
So, let me continue. If anyone else has a strong opinion regarding library materials, that person can find a parent to relay these opinions to the superintendent, assistant superintendent, principal, or library media specialist. Per the library media center policy, the goals and objectives of the school library media centers should adhere to and reflect the policies in the Library Bill of Rights, the School Library Bill of Rights, and the Freedom to Read statement listed below. Quote, "The library should provide books and other materials presenting all points of view concerning the problems and issues of our time. No library materials should be proscribed or removed from libraries because of partisan or doctrinal disapproval," unquote. So I agree with this statement and would like to see more rather than less library materials available to Terre Haute students. I do not think the media policy should be a political issue, and I support the Terre Haute School Committee's changes.
May I speak?
Therefore, I am not in favor of having our town council sending a condemning letter to the Terre Haute superintendent or the Terre Haute School Committee.
Scott, I'm going to speak. So do you have a copy of this policy, Scott?
No, I do not.
No, okay. Mike, do you have a copy of it?
At home, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna read the objections to and requesting reconsideration of library materials guide out of this book here. The guardian/parent of any student or student over the age of 18 enrolled in the Terre Haute Regional School District may address concerns with regard to materials used or not used in the district's educational program. Materials will remain in use until a final disposition as to the appropriateness or affordability has been made. Upon receiving a concern, the following will be done. 1. Now, there's many steps in this process. There's not, it's, you know, if someone is absolutely concerned about it, they have the routes. They can show up to school committee meetings and talk and say whatever. You can stand outside the school with a poster. You can do whatever you want to do. When you vote for a school committee member, that is your voice as a taxpayer. We are afforded the right to vote as taxpayers. That is how we choose. And if it doesn't work out, that your candidate doesn't get elected, you still spoke, you still chose. You don't get to just keep doing whatever, but you don't have to give up. You can keep fighting. You can keep expressing your opinion however you want to do it. Freedom of speech. So number one, the school official or library media specialist initially receiving the concern will treat that concern in a courteous manner. The concerned party will be referred to the building principal. Number two, the principal will request that the concerned party meet informally with the library media specialist. At this time, the school selection policy should be reviewed with the complainant. If the complainant still finds the offending material unacceptable, alternate reading materials or assignments will be found for the student. If the matter cannot be resolved informally, the concerned party should complete the request of reconsideration of library materials form. This form should be signed and returned to the library media specialist involved, the building principal and the assistant superintendent. Number four, upon receipt of the completed form, the assistant superintendent will call a meeting in the library media specialist, members of the library media curriculum committee, as well as selected content leaders, lead teachers, department chairs, 2 parents, and 1 student at the secondary level within 30 days to review the specific concern and material. The concerned party, the principal, the designee from the committee will be notified and invited to attend this meeting and present their findings at this meeting. The committee will select a representative who will present the recommendations of the committee in writing to the assistant superintendent within 2 weeks. If it is possible to locate the reviews of the material in question, they will also be presented to the committee. Subsection A, the selected representative of the committee shall be appointed as long as there is no conflict of interest with the materials under review, as credibility is of paramount importance. Subsection B, the recommendation will be made based on a review of the submitted form and information presented by the concerned party and the principal or designee. The recommendation will include A, termination, 2-1, retain the book/material. 2, withdraw the books/material. 3, limit the educational use of the books/material. The recommendation will also include reasoning behind the determination. Number 5, a written decision will be sent to the building principal and the concerned party of the committee's decision within 10 days. Number 6, the assistant superintendent will at the same time notify the superintendent of the complaint and the attempts to resolve the problem. If the concerned party is not in agreement with the committee's decision, an appeal can be made to the superintendent at level 2 of the district's appeal policy. That is another way that you can communicate with the school, is going through the district appeal policy. If the concerned party is not in agreement with the superintendent's decision, an appeal can be made to the Charahoe School Committee within 30 days at level 2 of the district's appeal policy. Any decision to remove a book from the shelf be reported to the school committee prior to its removal. And I just read that because I think it's lengthy, but there's a process that goes through. And if there are non-parents, Scott Billhurst, for instance, a bachelor, I think he's 70 years old. I don't know. He says he graduated in 1970.
1971.
Wants to come in there and, say what my kids can't read in a book. I mean, read in a library. I just think that's disruptive. And that's why I am absolutely not in favor of sending a letter to the school committee.
Can I speak?
Sure can, sir.
Okay, I'm chairman of the Republicans in this town. And we know that academia is very anti-Republican and very anti-conservative. And I have a responsibility as a leader of a political party to put forward my ideas. And the problem is the political left has a hold on academia in America. They have a hold on our public schools, and they determine the values. The left doesn't control America. The people control America. And you have conservatives, you have Republicans, you have Democrats, liberals, whatever. The problem is we need freedom of expression, and all points of view should be there. Republican points of view, conservative points of view, libertarian points of view. And I've seen some of the books that they're putting out for children to indoctrinate impressionable children who, making their way in the world, don't understand all these things. And there's a feeling that among a lot of parents, particularly, they want to be able to bring their children into the value system, whatever their traditions are. But I like to speak. I really find it interesting. I went to the meeting of the Charahoe School Committee, And I not only don't I respect the Churro School Committee, I have contempt for the Churro School Committee. And the reason I do is that when you have the superintendent of schools berate a member of the school committee, Bill Day, and I expect the school committee to take some action on her behavior. We lost a school committee member in this town, Pastor David Stahl, because he couldn't even bring things on the agenda. This is about restricting people who have conservative points of view. This is against everything that the United States of America stands for. And I think people should speak up against it. And the left doesn't control or have all the wisdom in this America, despite their damn arrogance. Thank you.
All I wanted to say, Scott, is if there are parents who feel like you feel, they have an avenue to do all these things. I think restricting the ability to try to talk about curriculums and books to the parents of the kids who go there, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if this is a wide movement, let's put it that way, or if there are a lot of people who feel like you feel, then you're gonna have some parents who can go right through this policy and get the things done that they want to get done still.
Well, in response to that, we know that, as I stated, the liberal and the left pretty much controls academia in America. And the problem with that is you're making a parent go through all these hoops who has a job to support families and children and things of that nature. And let me say another thing. The school committee has a responsibility to listen to all points of view and respect their members and not block people who put things on the agenda, which they did today. So, but let me say one thing. What is the history of Churro? A couple of years ago, we had an 8th grade English teacher that was talking about Trump and the power of whiteness. In an 8th grade English class, that has nothing to do with English. I don't trust, and I really have concerns about the Churro School District. Thank you.
I'd like to add that, Scott, I think you paint everything with a pretty broad brush. A broad brush. It means he's including everybody in this. He's saying because one teacher made a mistake and did something completely they shouldn't have, that all teachers feel that way are bad.
I
Absolutely
think
not, Scott.
I don't think we
Scott, you're
should.
an ideologue, okay, and it's never going to stick. That's just how you're going to think. This is politics for you. There's nothing but a game for you. This is what makes your blood flow. Okay? It's not-
The bottom line is,
Point of order, point of order. We have a public forum. If you'd like to speak at the public forum, you're going to be more than welcome to. That's it. We have a couple of minutes.
all I want to say is, I am political. That's what politics is about. Government is about politics. We are all politicians. The school committee are politicians. And the most important thing is you listen to what the public's saying. And you're making people go through hoops. People that have different opinions and values, and a lot of people want to bring up their kids with the values that they have, and they shouldn't have to go through all hoops. And conservative points of view should be in a public library and a school just as much as liberal and left-wing stuff. Thank you.
Scott, this library media policy is for the parents, and if you've got parents, they have this, they can use this policy, they can still get done what they want to get done if they're parents.
Yeah, but
Current students.
What if you're non-parent though? That's the gist. This is what I
You
was bringing
voted for
up.
a school committee member. Vote for somebody else.
Well,
I mean, that's your vote. To say this whole taxation about representation,
I didn't say that.
that's like saying, no, you haven't said it, but we have a right as taxpayers to vote. That's our choice. There's plenty of people that aren't happy with elections. I mean, that's a fact.
the bottom line is, and this is my last comeback, is the fact that it's tough to get people to run for school committee. In the last election in Hopkinton, we had 3 candidates. One had to drop out because of school. Lisa Macaruso was elected as a write-in. The fact of the matter is, it's not a challenge being elected to the school committee because very few people run for it. Let's talk about the political reality of the school committee. Thank you.
So that sounds like that should be the focus. If you're so concerned about Charlie in the school, then that needs to be the focus. Scott, that's who you vote for, just like we're voting into office. They're voted into office. I mean, what more do you want?
I said enough
And like
tonight.
you said, you can speak.
As
up,
my
you can
mother-
do whatever
my
you
mother-
want, You can post whatever you want.
As my mother would say, you can't take back words. And if I talk anymore, I might say something I regret. Thank you.
And I'm not saying anything Scott hasn't said in the Wesley Sun in the editorial. So just-
Oh, you read my letters.
Of course I read this. Why wouldn't I read
Who
it?
who could miss them?
Anyway, so
We had a second.
we had a second. Any more discussion? No. So the motion was to what? To send a letter. So those in favor to send a letter,
First, aye.
Geary, aye.
Davis, no.
Marvel, no. And Moffett, no.
All right.
Motion doesn't pass. Up next. Under number 4, discussion of the possibility of researching. Discussion on the possibility of researching the shutting down of State Road Route 3 along Crandall Field for the fireworks portion of the holiday stroll. And this was brought to the agenda from Council Geary.
Excellent. Cool things off a little bit. Chief, thanks. The reason I brought this up, and I want to thank President Moffett for getting it on the agenda, is over the last couple of years, I think we've all seen the holiday stroll, and the fireworks is a big draw for a lot of people. A little concerned about that the road stays open, and there's always constant traffic. You always see people going across Route 3. They did the holiday stroll, maybe saw the lights going across Route 3. I know there's always police in the crosswalk or volunteers in the crosswalk. I appreciate that. Thank you. But there was something I saw last time that really caught my attention. During the middle of the fireworks, there was 3 18-wheelers that were going south on Route 3. And there happened to be 4 or 5 families there that had babies in the stroller, maybe 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds. The backdraft from those trucks knocked the strollers and the parents backwards into somebody's lawn. Now, I'm not sure, I'm sure they're probably speeding, but for safety's sake, I'd like to see the feasibility of getting the road closed down, say at 10 to 7 or whatever time the fireworks go off, close it, from 216, maybe to Oak Street or something like that. I'm sure there's a little bit more behind it, Chief, but I'll let you talk it.
Thank you. Counselor. When the town manager approached me on this, recognize I contacted several people. It had been considered in the past. There's several obstacles that you have to get by. To let you know who I had spoken to. I had spoken to Director Sawyer from the Rec Department. Spoke to the chief of Ashway, Ron Spazzato. Both of them have been running this for, well, she is.
Many years.
22 years. He's
Yep.
been there 22 years. I spoke to Dave Caswell. He's been around most of that time. I've been to several of these. And obviously, we the police didn't see that happen because, hopefully.
Yeah, it was an eye catcher thing, because if they had gone forward into the road, it would have been tragic.
Yeah, and we share your concerns about public safety, no doubt about it. The obstacles you have for shutting down a major thoroughfare such as that is you have to get the permission of RIDCOT, which I think it would be a pretty good type mountain. The other issue would be we would in Hopkinton would be taxed to shut down roadways and find a diversion, which.
No, I agree 100% with you, Chief, not to stop you, but I know it's not something you just flip a switch with.
And there's the problem, there's probably gonna be about 6 officers are gonna be needed, roughly gonna be about $1,000 there. And also you're gonna recognize when you divert the traffic off of Route 3, you're diverting it to the back roads, which are not lighted like they are on Main Street. Many of the people that are attending the event are coming from behind the churches there. And that's kind of where we would be sending them. And while we may be giving some pedestrians on Route 3 a little more safeguard, you're putting the people that are walking from the back roads in a little more jeopardy. And I think we have better handles on Route 3 there. There's been a lot of transitions over the years. If you look at the area now, we have 3 crosswalks. They've been recently painted, so
Yeah.
they're very bright. There's 9 pedestrian big signs explaining where the pedestrian crossways are. What we plan to have is have two signboards, one being Hopkinton, and I spoke to the chief from Charleston to borrow theirs. And we would put them on either side of it, north and south. And on there, we would have it explain that there's possibility of the motorists having to stop ahead, but it would also guide any pedestrians to use the crosswalks. And at the crosswalks, we would have, there's going to be many first responders, where you say there's volunteers. We expect 2 traffic officers from the police department. Possibly it's going to be 1 police officer, possibly 2 there. So you're talking about anywhere from 3 to 4 police cruisers there. You have, speaking to Chief Spazzato, you have 4. You have well, between the actually ambulance and and some of the fire trucks that they'll have, they expect to have somewhere around 4 apparatus there.
Okay.
That'll be all lighted. And what we're looking to do is get DPW to put some cones along.
Exactly. Perfect, Chief.
So
Yep.
they can safeguard it there. I think it's tough when you start diverting traffic there where people don't know where they're going and you're going on a worse.
Yeah, say like down
road.
down Laurel Street or something like that. I pray. Yeah, I didn't see that. Thank Chief for pointing that out.
Any questions?
I just want it to be a safe, fun time for everybody. Everybody's been pent up for the last 2 years, or everybody wants to get out, see the beautiful, beautiful Ashway, the lights, the older houses, maybe see Santa, be all set.
Yeah.
And just have a fun time at the fireworks special. If that's, you feel good about that, Director Caswell and Brian, I'm good with it. Unless you.
No, I'm fine with it. Thank you for reaching out to Charleston, obviously, and realizing that this is we don't do too many events in town, and I know this is a popular one. So I think if there were to be resources spent on it, I think it's
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There should be
Well
plenty of
worthwhile.
resources there, and it gives me a chance to instill in the public, please use crosswalks there. There's 3 of them in like an 1/8 of a mile there, and that's where the police will be there to cross them and want everybody to be safe. So it was a good point.
Excellent. Chief, you're the best. Thank much. Thank you, Director Caswell and Chief
Appreciate it.
Sato and Brian. Appreciate it.
up next. Public forum to participate. Anyway, public forum, and just please state your name for the record. Mr. Moreau, go ahead.
Joe lives on Old Depot Road.
My name is Joe Moreau.
Depot Road.
I said at the last 3 or 4 town council meetings, that it was the last meeting was going to go for a while. The only reason I'm here tonight is to support Franklin Dalton. I also mentioned at the last meeting, I believe it was 45 vacancies, if I recall from my notes, that we had available on charters and boards and commissions. Here we have someone, 10 years of experience, 2 years planning board. I think all of you know I was a human resource manager for many, many years. Whenever I had interviews, I asked questions. This poor man, except for the 2 counselors here, not one question. And I saw the email. For someone to send an email and threaten not to vote for someone because if they voted for Mr. Limbaugh, you didn't even get the opportunity to have you ask questions of him. That's shameful, in my opinion. And I don't blame Frank for what he did. Frank and I disagreed so many times on solar. He did what he thought was best for the town financially. I did, and fellow residents did what we thought was best for us. But we talked. We can agree to disagree, but we talked about things. We asked each other questions. I want to thank Councilor Hurst for providing information regarding the pantry on the lane, which is located at 70 Bowling Lane in Bradford. It's open Saturdays 11 to 2 and on the weekdays 9:30 to 1:30. I spoke to Autumn, who was in charge, and basically what she is going to do, thanks to Scott reaching out, is she's going to donate 15 gift cards, $20 each, to Stop and Shop for needy residents to purchase turkeys. I met with Ms. Sawyer today at the rec department, Mary Sawyer, and she had left me a voicemail to do something with the stroll, but it's kind of late, so we're going to do something after the first of the year. We're going to get together. I spoke to Gloria at Canachik 1 and 2, and what we think we're going to do is, because of privacy issues, probably put all the names into a hat and just pick the names out of the hat of those people that are needy and need the turkeys. We'll need some help, actually. Thanks again, Scott, for working to help our residents. The other thing is, what I had given to Mary was Councilor Davis had given me a spreadsheet that lists all of the agencies. And Mary found that quite helpful, where she can notify these different agencies, churches, and so forth. In my opinion, all elected officials, town employees, and residents should try to help those in need. This leads to my next point. On Saturday, November 6th, I sent an email to Elizabeth Cook Martin and Steve Moffett. And basically I said, hi guys, I purchased heating oil about 3 weeks ago. And when I looked at the price I paid last year, I was shocked at the price increase. The other huge price increase has been with the price of gas and many other things. One of the things I thought about was to increase the awareness to our residents on what is available to them. The Tri-County Community Action Agency provides help with fuel bills, winterization assistance. Lisa provided me with some updated information, and I was able to provide that to our residents. I would like to meet with Lisa to share some ideas. I thought of the following: provide the contact information on our website under new business at the next council meeting tonight. We could also provide the contact information. I would like to hear your thoughts on providing this important information to our residents. Lisa is always very good about responding to emails. I can't say that about other people. But on Monday, I did not hear from Lisa. So I called and I found that Lisa had some well-deserved time off. I spoke to Marita, who was very helpful. I left a message with Lois. She got back to me. And what Marita said was that she would forward my email to Ryan Rosso, which I'm sure that she did. At that point, I hadn't heard any more about this. But on Thursday, I was reviewing our website, and I noticed under Hopkinton information and events a notice of heating assistance that was listed on there. I want to thank Lisa, Marita, Brian, and Jeff for taking care of this. I sent an email to Jeff to thank him for his assistance on there. I can't tell you because of privacy issues, but the people that I spoke to, it's a question of heating oil or putting food on the table. That's how desperate some of the people in Hopkinton are. I was very disappointed when I did not hear back from our council president. As I said, I wanted to discuss this on the agenda tonight. The main reason was I looked back at the town council meeting for November 1st. As of 10:30, I believe, yesterday, there were 87 hits on that. So my point was, if I was able to talk about the entire program tonight as an agenda item, there could have been potentially, who knows how many people telling someone else about heating oil. It did not happen. The other thing I found out about looking on our website, Liz Monty, our tax assessor, valuable employee for 7 years, gave a notice. No idea about that. I called her to verify the information, and it was true. I went to Stop and Shop, I bought her some flowers, and I came up there and I wished her well. It is a difficult situation, but with her permission, if there was some discussion, how could we get the message out to other residents that would want to come up here and say goodbye to Lisa? I mean, to Liz, after the fact. Sorry. I have a question. Did you know there was a school committee meeting on November 9th? There was a rally at 5:30. Biggest issue was that residents without children in a school district do not have a say in certain topics. The numbers I looked at were almost 74% of our school budget, which is about $20 million that goes to education. And I agree with the education out of a total of 27 million. I disagree, but to me, it is taxation without representation. The former and the late Barry Ritchie. I've known Barry since he was my daughter's principal in Western Coventry School. He'd be so upset with what happened at that meeting. They had residents that still wanted to speak, and they had the gall to say, that's it, we're done. We've got business to do. Like that wasn't business there. When I pay almost 74% of my tax dollars, I should have some say. And not to go through the hoops as Mr. Hurst mentioned. Most people would give up on going through that explanation. Why weren't you there? I'd like to get an answer about that from someone, please.
You know what? I was at the meeting on the 26th, and why weren't anybody else there?
That's-
Listen, time out.
Put on Zoom.
It was, every town council was invited to attend that meeting. I was there
And I watched it on Zoom.
for transportation, but they also voted on the policy as well. The media policy. Same day, right? Am I wrong?
I was at the Potty Hill Dam Information Committee, and at least those people listen, unlike our school committee. Thank you.
Why weren't you there? I don't understand that. I'd like an answer. I don't care about any other meeting, and I appreciate you going to other meetings, but why weren't
There to do what, Mr. Morrell? What
to
did you
voice the concerns of what you were elected to do for the residents of Hopkinton?
voice?
We have,
Oh my God, this is,
I don't understand.
this
We
is-
have
this is
school committees
ridiculous.
with
You may think it's
elected
ridiculous.
I do, I really
It's
do
not
think it's
ridiculous to me
ridiculous.
when I don't have a say in certain things.
It's only about the media,
Oh,
the media at the library.
Sharon, we
It's not
don't need
about
to
other
entertain
things.
this, Sharon. We don't need to entertain it.
I'm sorry, what was that comment?
Listen, we don't need to entertain your
This show, did you
attacking.
say this show?
I didn't say show. We didn't need to entertain this, and I did not say show.
It's obvious that you don't want to hear from someone that's concerned about the town.
No,
Why
I'm
didn't you
listening,
get back to me
but I
about-
may not agree with you, and if I don't agree with you, because I'm in this office, I have to agree with you. That's
You
what
don't
you're
agree with
saying. And if I
providing
don't
heating-
agree,
Heating assistance?
Joe, you did not ask for that to be on the agenda. If you asked for that to be on the agenda, it
most
would have
certainly
been
was
on the
asked.
agenda.
It was certainly most asked to be on the agenda.
If you had asked for the agenda, I'm sure Lisa would have put it on there. Lisa always submits, if anybody submits anything, she asks me whether or not that was to be put on the agenda. And if it was, then it was a complete oversight, Joe, and I
Under-
apologize for that oversight.
Number two, under new business at the next town council meeting, we could also provide the contact information.
Okay, well then I apologize for that, for not recognizing that. I will put it on the next agenda, absolutely, because it's important.
Well, you just said it wasn't important. but I'm not-
That's not what I said, Joe. You're putting words in my mouth.
No, I would never do that. believe me.
Well, you did, so.
The last point I want to make is that, I also have a copy of, because I was waiting for the comment that you could not be there because it was a meeting and you couldn't have the 5 town councilors there. But that didn't come up. But I did speak to the Attorney General's office. They sent me an email, and you could have gone, you could have sat individually. You didn't discuss any town business.
That was certainly, and I certainly have a copy. I'd like to get to Lisa for the records for our town solicitor. The other thing is when I voted for, and you're not gonna see me again, that's a promise. When I voted for town council members, I voted for 5. I voted for 5 members. I don't need to have a 6th person influencing some members of this council.
You're trying to be the sixth person. I said that you're trying to be the sixth person right now, John.
No, based on what I say, no. I appreciate.
I'd just like to say one thing, and to Frank Landolfi, I didn't have questions because I know you.
And I
There
didn't
was
see any
nothing-
questions
I didn't
here.
have
All I
any
saw was we
questions.
support.
They-
That's not a negative. There wasn't a negative at all.
They made comments, in my opinion, I could be wrong.
Well, I just
It was
wanted
very
to know.
obvious that that vote was gonna be 3-2 against.
You don't even, you have, how can you
I
make that
said-
decision?
My opinion. You never asked a
We
question,
haven't-
I know.
But I know, Frank. I didn't have
Yes.
to ask him a question.
Just state your name for the record, please.
Oh, well.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Polly Hopkins from Hopkinton.
Polly, Ms. Hopkins, could you bring the mic down and talk into it?
That way it's recording.
Yeah, because it records better if you're, yeah, there you go.
So I was at both of those school committee meetings, and thank you for coming. None of us knew they were going to introduce that policy until 24 hours before. So you have a bunch of, there was very few parents at that meeting, so we had to get the word out that this library media policy is very restrictive. I want to remind you of a very simple phrase. It takes a village to raise a child. How many years have we been hearing that? Some of the parents in this community are single parents who work 2 jobs, and those children are babysat by grandparents or neighbors or aunts. And what if, for instance, a grandparent sees a child with one of these books that they disagree with? I'm just giving an example. And the parent is working 2 jobs. They're obviously too busy. This is where it comes to be, that it takes a village to raise a child. Now, that grandparent might have all the time in the world to go and sit through a committee of people and listen to them hem and haw or whatever they're gonna do. You gotta understand, take all these factors into account, because every situation is happening in this community. You can't just deny part of the tax-paying public their right to have a say in what they're purchasing at the school. That's my opinion on that. There's also some other issues that legal counsel is running around town councils. Charahoe's legal counsel, who represents many of these other schools in this state, is pushing the same thing. Why? Does anybody have any idea why Mr. Anderson would be running around pushing this library media policy through school districts?
I would have to hear from Mr. Anderson.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not,
I would like to hear from Mr. Anderson too, because I don't think he knows that I speak to Coventry, that I speak to Barrington and other school parents in those districts. Before this, there was also a policy change wherein the same thing, teachers, administration, anybody who does not have a child can't comment on curriculum. Curriculum's huge, everything in that school. Do any of you have any idea what these new curriculums that are being put out by RIDE look like? The content in them, the library, the media. There's pornographic material in here. I can read you a clip, I can get you a book list. There is visual pornographic material meant for middle schoolers. I mean, it's time to adult up. If my middle schooler stood up in the middle of a cafeteria with one of the books he just got out of the library at the school and started reading it, he would be suspended. The words bag, dick, suck, all on one page. Do we need that in school? Do we need to promote that? That's our concern. And like I said, there are some grandparents that are gonna, can you imagine grandparents and what they're gonna see and what they're gonna say and how they're gonna advocate for their grandkids learning this stuff. This is a highly sexualized, highly radicalized, highly social justice curriculum being pushed into our schools. It doesn't belong. And they have taken out the curriculum. They've now taken out library and media. And what was the other? Library, media, books. Think about media. Think about the push to have every single one of those kids have a computer. Now, you don't, any of you have kids in the school system over there?
And 5.
You have 5, God bless you.
That's why I might not have been there and just watched it from my house. So that way it was still relevant and I understood what was going on.
And all opinions aside, my son is in middle school. He brought home his new Chromebook. I was looking through it. There are links on suggested links that the school provides with anti-bias training, very radicalized training, very racialized language built into that. And if I disagree, I can bring that to the school. But if my father, who is babysitting them, sees that, he has to come to me, tell me. He can't just go and, as a graduate with Scott Bill Hurst of the same school system, who has lived here his whole life and paid taxes, why is he not allowed to just approach them and say, hey, I saw this on my grandson's computer. I don't agree with this. It's just an example, you know. It's not a good look on the school or the town council to be thumbing nose at the taxpayers. And I suggest you all think about what's going on and how much deeper this is than just books. And there's a lot in the media. Do you have a question?
I just don't understand. If all of you really feel that way, and you have kids, you have an avenue. I don't understand. If this is such an important thing to so many people, there's gotta be a lot of parents that are part of, that feel
So
the
let's
same
put
way
it
you
this
do.
way.
So
Listen,
why
this is the
can't they
public
just
forum,
use it?
okay? I'm sure
But
that if
anyway, that
there's
was
anyone
just
else,
my-
I mean,
I'm sorry.
So let me-
I'm being very gracious and just
yeah.
allowing you to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Let me say this. Then if the taxpayers don't feel like they have a say in the school, then maybe we should give them the option that their tax dollars stay here in the town and not go to the school. It was all one or the other. I mean, they're controlling the policies over there, can control the policies over here.
we can't affect school policy unless we, advocate to them certain things, but no.
As a correction,
And I
this,
suggest everybody here, come November, run and then make a change. I mean, that's it. I'm not running for, I am not running for reelection right now. I mean, not running, I'm not presently at the moment campaigning. I'm not, that's not how I operate. I don't.
The town council, as a correction, the town council can adopt a resolution on any item they choose to. And we see all these resolutions in our packet, so that's a bunch of baloney.
Yeah, but.
Yeah.
Right.
Should move out of town too.
I don't know. Is there, public forum is continuing. If there's anyone else that would like to speak, please, please do.
I have snippets of that book if you want me to read some and give you some ideas.
Can I make a motion?
No,
Nobody wants to
it-
talk. Do you want to say, I mean.
No, I just want to close it out and say, happy
If-
Thanksgiving.
If you also, the chair will vote on this, I'll use both respectively. Division Tuesday championship this weekend.
I'll let you say that out.
I'll
Too much
do
mess.
it. Okay.
Well done.
Mr. President,
Listening and agreeing are two different things.
Mr. President, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second, but with the thing, I'd like to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. Be safe.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Marvel, I.
Gary, I.
And Moffat, I motion.
Hey, when
passes.
we get
Meeting
together, December, when we get December,
Right, because the 22nd is 15th, right? So we skip here, right? So I think the first Monday would be the 6th. So that's a good thing. Perfect.